In software development, we talk a lot about best practices. But testing, it's way more than that. It's your pre-flight check. It's that absolutely critical step that makes sure your code is ready for a smooth, successful journey. It's what turns a good extension into a truly great one. So let's break down how to get it right.
So you've done it. You poured hours, maybe weeks, into building the perfect extension. The logic feels solid, the UI looks clean. But here's the real question. Is it unbreakable? How can you be sure it won't crash and burn under pressure, right when your users are counting on it the most? Well, that's exactly what we're going to tackle today.
Okay, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the why, the real value of testing. Then we'll map out a solid strategy, check out the toolkit you'll be using, and then get our hands dirty writing and running the tests. And finally, we'll cover what to do when things don't quite go as planned.
Right. Let's dive into that first point. Why even bother with all this testing? Honestly, it boils down to one word: confidence. Testing is the bridge that takes you from just having written some code to shipping a professional, totally trustworthy product your customers can count on.
Look, a really solid test plan pays off big time. And it's not just about squashing bugs. It's about guaranteeing reliability for your users and verifying that every single scenario they might encounter just works. It's also about making sure your extension works for users who don't have those admin super permissions. All of this builds the confidence you absolutely need to submit your app to AppSource.
But here's the thing. Great testing doesn't just happen. It needs a plan. So let's talk about how to design that blueprint for quality, making sure you've covered all your bases before you even think about writing a single line of test code. A really great test strategy tries to think just like a user. You've got to cover the whole journey, right? From that first assisted setup wizard all the way to the day-to-day stuff like creating sales orders. You need to test every page, every button, and I can't stress this enough, always test as a non-admin user. It's all about making sure the experience is seamless for everybody.
So how do we bring some order to this chaos? Well, the answer is a simple but really powerful framework called given, when, then. It's basically the gold standard for writing tests that are clear, logical, and super easy for anyone, including your future self, to understand.
And here's the breakdown. Given, this is your setup, where you get everything ready. When, this is the one specific thing you're testing. And then, this is where you check if you got the result you expected. One action, one check. That's the secret to keeping your tests clean, focused, and effective.
So, we've got a strategy. Now we need the tools. And the great news is you don't have to build all this stuff from the ground up. Business Central gives you a whole arsenal of tools to help you out. The Application Test Toolkit is going to be your best friend. Seriously, it's loaded with helper functions and libraries that save you tons of time. It gives you a special page just for running your tests, and most importantly, the Assert Code Unit. That's the tool you'll use in your then step to officially say, yep, this worked exactly as I expected.
Okay, let's talk about one of the most powerful ideas in automated testing: mocking. Imagine your extension needs to call an external API. You don't want your test to actually call it every time, right? It could be down or slow or even cost you money. Mocking is like using a stunt double for that API. You create a fake, predictable stand-in so you can test your own logic in total isolation.
And this is exactly why it's a best practice you just can't skip. Without mocking, your tests become slow and flaky, totally dependent on something you can't control. But with mocking, your tests are lightning fast, super reliable, and give you predictable results every single time. This is really the key that unlocks things like continuous integration and deployment.
All right, we've got our plan, we know our tools. It's time to bring this whole strategy to life and actually write and run these tests.
So you might be wondering, how do I test something that needs a user to click OK on a pop-up? Great question. The answer is UI handlers. These things are incredible. They're functions that basically sit and wait to intercept any kind of UI pop-up and handle it automatically, so your tests can just keep running without any manual clicks.
And here are the most common ones you'll use. You've got handlers for simple messages, for answering yes or no to those confirmation boxes, and even for dealing with entire pages that might open up. These are the puzzle pieces that let you build a fully automated, hands-off testing process that simulates a real user. Okay, the code is written, our handlers are in place, the given when then structure is all set. It is time for the moment of truth. Let's run the test. And running them is actually pretty straightforward. You just open up the test tool page, pick the test code units you want to run, and click Run Selected.
That's it. The system handles the rest.
And there it is, that beautiful word, success. It's the result every single developer hopes to see. But you know what? It's not about luck. It's the direct result of having a plan, a good strategy, and writing clean, well-crafted code.
But let's be real. Life isn't always perfect. Sometimes things just don't go according to plan. So let's talk about what to do when you see that other, more dreaded result.
First things first, don't panic. A failing test isn't a disaster. It's a discovery. It's your own code pointing you directly to a hidden problem you didn't know you had. The real key is knowing how to listen to what it's trying to tell you.
A test fails for a really simple reason. What you got wasn't what you expected. Your test code was looking for a specific value, in this case 50101, but what the code actually produced was 0. That little mismatch right there, that's the failure. And now you know exactly where to start digging.
So how do you find the source of the problem? You use the call stack. Think of this as your detective's toolkit. It gives you the exact play-by-play of method calls that led right up to the line of code that failed. It's basically a treasure map that leads you straight to the scene of the crime.
So let's wrap this all up. The big takeaway here is that testing is so much more than just fixing bugs. It's a whole discipline. It's the process you follow to build that unshakable confidence in your product and to make sure that what you're shipping is truly professional-grade software.
And that really just leaves us with one last question to think about. You've built your extension, but is it just done or is it proven? With a solid, comprehensive test suite, you'll always know the answer to that. And that, my friends, is the real difference between just writing code and shipping professional-grade software.